Welcome to Web Wonders, Portland District Library's latest Littles art project. My name is Miss Eileen and I am so excited to have you here with me today. Today we are going to be creating these watercolor spider web paintings. So you should have already picked up your take and make bag here at the library, and caregivers, this is going to have most of the supplies that you need to complete the project today. Two things that you're going to need to grab from home are some paper towel and then two little containers for water that you can wash your brushes in and use it to create your paints with your watercolor set. So once you have all your supplies ready to go, we can go ahead and get started. In just a minute, I'm going to go over what you received in your take and make bag, and then I'm going to show you the step-by-step instructions for how to create your spider web paintings. Are you ready to get started? Let's get to it. What you see out in front of me here on the table is everything that you received in your take and make bag from the library. So you should have 7 or 8 sheets of cardstock paper, a sheet of spider stickers, a set of watercolor paints, and a roll of orange removable tape. And again, caregivers, the things you're going to want to grab from home are some paper towel and 2 containers with a little bit of water. You don't need a lot, just a little bit of water. And what we're going to do first, littles, is I've given you enough sheets of paper so that you can practice a little bit with your watercolors before you start a spider web painting. If you've never used watercolors before, I do recommend that you practice a little bit. So if you want to watch the first few minutes of our step-by-step instructions, and then you can kind of play with your watercolor paints on one sheet of paper, and then you can start a spider web painting with me and follow along through the video. So the first things that we're going to actually need for our spider web painting is 1 sheet of the cardstock paper. And as you can see here on my example, how this project works is we're going to use this orange tape to create the actual spider web. So we're going to put the tape right on the paper, and then we're going to paint over the tape. And then once our paint dries, we're going to remove the tape to reveal the white underneath and create our spider web effect. And then at the very end, we're going to add our spider stickers to our webs. So for the first step, caregivers, depending on how old your little is, you're going to want to do this in a couple of different ways. You can either help them pull the tape and rip it, and then kind of guide them in laying it out. So whatever is easiest for you and your little to do. The thing that I found was easiest for me is I started by making an X on my sheet of paper. And it's okay actually if you end up taping the paper down to the table. So what you can see here is I took a piece of my orange tape and I put it from one corner to the other. And then I'm going to do the same thing in the other direction. Oh. And sometimes the tape does rip in kind of funny ways, and that's okay. You should have plenty of supplies to make at least 2 or 3 of the spiderweb paintings if you choose. So it's okay if we kind of waste a little bit of the tape when we have oopsies. So I'm going to go ahead and put that on that corner, and then I'm just going to pull and roll slowly across, and then I'm going to line it up to the other corner, and I'm going to push down. And little, something that you can do is run your finger gently over each piece to make sure it's nice and stuck down. And then what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go this direction and this direction. So one up and down and one side to side. So I'm going to take it and I'm going to push it down on the table. I'm going to roll very gently. Again, my tape is kind of ripping weird, so we're going to stop for a second and fix that. This tape works really well for this project, but it is a little bit finicky when it's trying to come off the roll. Okay, now we're back in action. So again, I'm going to stick that right up here at the top, and then I'm going to pull and roll straight down like this. And if you decide you want to do a different pattern for your spider web, that's totally okay too. You could do one that matches my pattern and then another one that's kind of just a fun, crazy spider web pattern. With art projects, we always like to encourage everyone to do whatever they want to do. Art is a very creative thing, and we definitely just want you to use our videos and examples as inspiration. So here we go. We're going to pull that all the way across. Okay, so I have the 4 main lines for my spider web. And now what I want to do is I want to put little pieces of tape going all the way around in 2 lines. So for this, I'm just going to take pieces and kind of line them up and then rip them. And that's the thing I like about this tape, is that it rips really easily. So again, I'm just going to take little pieces, rip them, and then lay them down. And then when I'm done laying them down, I just run my finger over the top of them to make sure that they're completely stuck down on our piece of paper. And remember that anywhere that we put tape down is where the paint is not going to go. So any place where we put tape down is going to be white when we're done. It's going to keep that spot on the piece of paper from getting any paint on it. And it's going to be white when we pull that tape up after our paint dries. So now I'm going to do one more kind of circle all the way around. And can you see how it's really starting to look like a spider web now? Okay, so I am done with my tape. I have my outline for my spider web done. I'm just going to gently rub my hand and my fingers over the tape to make sure it's all stuck down nice and tight. And the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to get our watercolors out. And again, if you've never used watercolor before, I recommend that you take one of the extra sheets of white paper and just play around a little bit with it. So what we're going to do here, littles, is we have 2 bowls of water. One of them is when we want to switch paint colors on our brush, so it's to clean our brushes. And one bowl is for when we want to make our watercolor, activate our colors. Because right now, if you touch your watercolor set, everything is completely dry, and you'll notice you can rub your fingers on them and nothing gets on your finger. And they're called watercolors because we add water to the color to make the paints. And so what you can do is you can kind of decide how you want to paint your design. For the one that I did as a sample, I just chose to do purple and then orange and then purple. You can do whatever you want for color combinations. You could do a rainbow, you could just pick your very favorite color, you could do every single spot a different color, so it is completely up to you how you want to paint your spider web. I'm going to use completely different colors than what I used in my first one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, you have two different paintbrushes, you have a big one and a little one. I like the big one for this project, so I'm going to take my big paintbrush and I'm going to put it into my clean water, and then I'm going to put that water that's on my brush into one of the circles of paint. And I'm going to activate that paint color. And what you'll notice is you just kind of want to rub it quite a few times, and you'll start to notice that you have color on your brush now. And then you can take that paint and you can put it on your paper. And again, we are painting all of the white spots. And if for some reason you want to leave some of those spots white without paint, that's okay too. Again, you can do whatever you want in terms of painting and color combinations and things like that. So I'm going to go ahead and take this teal color and paint every other little triangle here, this teal color. And what you'll notice is you can do quite a few spots with that same color, and then once you start to notice that that little oval over here with your paint set dries out, you will just go ahead and take more water and add it into the oval to create more paint. And then you'll just use your brush to pick it up and put it on your piece of paper. And then here's the trick. When you want to switch colors, so I'm done with the teal color, you're going to want to put it in your dirty water bowl. So one of these needs to be dirty water and one of them needs to stay clean. So this is going to be my dirty water bowl. And then I'm going to take my brush and just dry it off and make sure I've got all the paint off of there. And now to switch colors, I'm going to use my clean water bowl, dip my brush in there, and then put it onto the paint tray. And now I'm going to create some yellow paint. And I'm doing the same thing. I'm taking water from my bowl and putting it right into that oval and creating my yellow paint. And I'm going to pull the paint and put it right on my piece of paper. So I've got teal and I've got yellow. And now I've completed this first inner ring. And now I'm going to put my brush into my dirty water bowl because I want to switch colors again. And I'm going to use, I think I'm going to use red. I haven't used red yet. So we're going to go ahead and put it in our clean water bowl. Drag that water into our red oval to activate our paint. And then once I've activated my paint, I'm going to drag some of it over and plop it right on one of my spots here. And I'm going to do every other spot again just to see what that looks like to start with. And I do need a little bit more water there. And if you want to make your sections a darker color, you just have to add more layers of paint. So it dries really quickly, and you can always just add a little bit more to each spot until you like the way that it looks. So I like my red spots a little bit darker. Right, I'm really liking the way that that looks. I think I want to do these other spots purple, which is my favorite color. I do want to add a little bit of purple. So I'm going to clean my brush in my dirty water bowl. And then I'm going to dab my brush a little bit here. Take my clean water and add it into my purple oval. I'm going to activate my paint. And then I'm going to paint my spots. Ooh, I really like the way that this looks so far. Okay, so now I just have these outer sections to paint, and I'm going to go ahead and clean my brush, and then I think I'm going to use I think I'm going to use green. I haven't used green yet, so we're going to activate my green oval right here. And I think that's good. And now I'm gonna go ahead and see what that looks like. And I'm gonna do just like I have with every other section, every other spot, I'm gonna paint green. And when I get to the edge, I am gonna get a little bit of paint on the table, but these clean up pretty easily. Okay, and I'm just gonna keep making more of my paint because these sections are bigger. I do need a lot of paint to fill these in. And I hope that you're having fun picking what colors you want to use or patterns you want to create. Maybe you're doing a rainbow. This is super fun in that you can pick all different kinds of ways to paint your spider webs. You could also choose to do two different colors in one spot. You could kind of mix them a little bit as you put the paint on the paper. So you can kind of give it like a little tie-dye effect. Okay, so there's my last green section. And I have 4 more sections, and I think I'm gonna do them in this blue color. So I'm gonna go ahead and clean my brush, take some of my clean water, and activate my blue paint. Yep, I really like that. Okay, so I'm almost done with my spider web painting. I have just this one more spot left to fill in. Okay, so this is my completed painted spider web, and I'm going to go ahead and clean my brush off. Nice. And I'm done with the painting part. Now, caregivers, you're going to want to let this dry. It dries pretty quickly. I would give it maybe 10-15 minutes. And then once it's dry, you can peel the tape off. And you're going to want to kind of do it in reverse. So we started with the big pieces and ended with the little ones in terms of laying it down. So we want to start peeling the little pieces up before we do the big ones. And you'll just go all the way around and peel those off. And those are garbage now. And you'll notice in some of the sections it will peel up the paper just a tiny bit, but that's okay. In the final piece you don't really notice it. So I'm going to go around and peel up the little pieces. And I'm going to start with this row. So here you'll really start to see that all the places, like I said in the first part of the video, all the places where we put tape down, you can see that it's completely white. So I'm just slowly peeling. And again, you want to wait until the paint has dried. It peels up a lot nicer when the paint has completely dried. But I did want to show you what it looks like just for the video here. Okay, so we're going to just continue. See, what happens when you don't wait for the paint to dry is that it peels more of the paper off. But that's okay. This is just my example that I'm showing you. Okay, so we've got just 2 more little pieces left. Okay, what do you guys think? Oh, I really like all the different colors that I chose for my spider web painting. And then what you can see here with my finished one is I added my spider stickers. So find your spider stickers and you can add 1 or 2 depending on how many more you want to make. You want to make sure you have spiders for each of them. So I'm going to go ahead and peel one of my spider stickers off and put them right here on the web. All right, I hope you have all sorts of fun creating your spider web paintings. Thank you so much for joining me today for Web Wonders. I hope you had all sorts of fun creating your spider web paintings. I would love to see any pictures or videos of you completing today's project or of your completed works of art. You can send those to us here at the library at the email address going across your screen now. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope to see you next time. Bye for now.